All right, Tyler, Satnam Singh, what'd you think, man? Kind of a dud way to end AEW Dynamite, and what was a really solid AEW Dynamite in my opinion. But man, I don't know. I don't know. It didn't work for me. What about you?
Yeah, so at the top, I thought Dynamite last night on Wednesday, what day is it? The 13th, 14th, whatever it was.
Correct.
I thought that Dynamite was one of the stronger Dynamites really ever. I mean, top to bottom, great wrestling. I'm sure we'll get into it here. So I don't want to, I would give that an A overall as a show. The ending, big dud. It was just, I think it is, not to psychoanalyze it, but I think it was like the peak hubris of Tony Khan, just to think that lights out, anyone in the ring, it's going to get over. This crowd is crazy for anything. And you have to, if it was Claudio, which I thought it was going to be, I don't know about you.
Oh, man, good call.
Was going to be there if the lights went out. And I thought that place was going to explode. And it's just a guy, that there's nothing like I think that's, not all the concern that you see online, but I think most people, there's nothing against this dude who it looks big and powerful, and they're obviously going to try and work around him to get the India brand going, but just like not a good spot for that guy, and that's like going to be his legacy unless he is a good worker, and he takes 2 years to build like Wardlow took 2 years to build. So more the hubris of Tony Khan on notice than any worker within the company.
Dude, it really was. I mean, first of all, the lights out gimmick thing for me is just like, okay, come on. Be done with that. Yeah. But if you're gonna do it, like if you're gonna say, okay, we gotta do the lights out thing, well, you got to make it worth people's while. And I just don't think that was it. And I think it really, and honestly, it set Singh up to fail right out of the gate, because people's expectations just go through the roof. And then it's okay. Who is this guy? We don't know who he is. He doesn't look that great while he's out there doing his thing anyway. So kind of, dud is the best way to put it, I think.
Yeah. Especially just who he's paired with. I mean, no offense to Jay Lethal, and I can't think of his
Sanjay Dutt.
Yeah. They have not, they've looked the strongest on the ROH pay-per-view that, 20,000 people bought, which is great. But 20,000 people of a show that 977,000 people watched last night. So you've got a guy who just loses, and a guy who they've never seen with him, and he's doing, a dick in the box joke with his middle finger through a present, and which is funny. I laughed at that, but it's just like paired with like a bunch of guys that just had that awesome match that is probably not for everybody, and I kind of like to talk about that if we discuss that further. But obviously I loved it, but all that is just not the good pairing. It's just like if you were to make like a worst case scenario to premiere somebody, it's like that's made in a lab for how not to premiere somebody. So
it is. It really is, man. I want to talk about the match too. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about CM Punk a little bit too from Dynamite. Lots to cover, and we'll get to it all. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Fireside Chat, PWTorch Fireside Chat. I'm Zach Haydorn. Tyler, welcome on in, man. You've had a pro wrestling-esque journey in terms of travel these last couple days, huh?
Yeah. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, beautiful Detroit, Michigan, for work for my shoot job. But so I'm doing my OnlyFans shoot after this here. So sorry, while you're drinking, I already made that joke, so you're good.
I'm good.
So I know what it's like to be a wrestler, and I am tired. So the fact that I'd have to be performing in the ring right now, if I was a pro wrestler on this travel schedule, big ups to them for that travel schedule that they do. But man, that graphic was fancy, by the way. That's the first time we've had that. So I just don't want to leave that hanging. So that's a good job, Zach. That's some nice stuff we got going. So
it is, and it's fun to be back here, Fireside Chat, man. We got a lot of cool stuff to discuss, I think, and can you imagine being on the road like you are now, but like having to go to the ring in front of 10,000 people maybe, and getting chopped by Minoru Suzuki over and over and over, and just when you think it's going to be done, like it happens continuously for not 10 more minutes, but 3 more minutes straight. Dude, you kind of alluded to it. I thought I really liked that match. I thought that they delivered the match that people expected to see. And I think it was smart. Like, and I don't know that it's going to appeal to every single person that watched AEW Dynamite, but in that building, like that building was hot to begin with yesterday. And I think it helped everything that happened on the show pop. But man, it's like, I thought that Joe and Suzuki read that room almost perfectly in terms of like, you know what, we're not even gonna ease into this thing, man. They want to see us just go at it. Like, let's just go at it the exact way that they want. Shades of Joe versus Kenta Kobashi from all those years ago. I thought it was a great match, man.
Oh yeah, me too. And I only thought about that, like the question I posed earlier before the intro there. After the match, when I always watch the show, I do the report, so I don't get online and see what anyone else is thinking, because that just mires your view of things when you see other people's opinions just coursing through your veins. But I mean, it was exactly what I want to see. It was somehow more than I thought I was going to see. So it started about 9:45 Eastern time. It went till 10:02, 10:03, something like that. So, but I mean, there was a couple moves there really during the commercial break, but besides that, it was all physicality, very simple. Joe's chest turned about 3 different shades of red to purple to like almost black near the end, and it shouldn't have worked. Those matches should not work. Like basically everything in Bloodsport. I know you were a big fan of when GCW does Bloodsport, the Josh Barnett show.
I do. I love that. Look forward to it every time they run it. Yeah.
But like it should not work. But it, like when it's good, it's so good because there's like, I mean, there is a story being told. I don't know. No spoilers on what you're on the canvas is going to be this week, but something like. The FTR tag matches the last couple of weeks, especially against the Bucks on last week's Dynamite, that's like a quintessential wrestling story from start to finish. It's built in, it's long term. There's a story before the match happened, and there's going to be a story after. There's also the same like beginning, middle, end of the match itself. And like a match like this doesn't necessarily have that, but it doesn't matter because it's basically like, it's like real combat, not theater combat like we see with most wrestling, and that's like not a negative on either because I like both. But really to have you're literally just slapping the crap out of each other for 15 minutes, and it never was not compelling. It's hard to quantify like why that works and why only certain people can do that. But yeah, it was right there in front of us.
I would argue that there is like a story there. Like I like, and it's not really in the. It's not in the moves. Like it's not in like we're going to sell this. We're going to sell the knee and then we're going to go back to it. And then you're going to try to hit your finish and you're not gonna be able to do it. Like, it's not like that kind of story, but like, just, I viewed it as like looking strictly at facial expressions. Like Joe's facial expressions at the beginning of that crazy slap fest were different than they were at the end. And like, you saw like the progression of not only his pain, but like, him like kind of just alpha-ing up and wanting to take Suzuki down. So like that's like I think that's what works. And I don't think everybody could pull that off. Like Grayson Waller is not pulling that off. Like I don't think he has the credibility, yet to be able to do that. Like and heck, I mean, there's some WWE wrestlers, like top wrestlers, that I don't think have the credibility to pull that off, because you got to like have it with the fans in order to just do that in a match and have it get over, So I'm with you on that. Like, no, not everybody can do it, period. And I think it would be a disaster if you saw like Grayson Waller
Miz,
or Tony D'Angelo
Miz.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Well, seriously though. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good example, actually. Like,
Miz and Nick Jackson, let's say, if they had that match, maybe that wouldn't work so well. If you're going to take two people from two different companies, so we're all fair here.
Exactly. Like Jungle Boy and and one of the Bucks too. Like that's not going to work. Yeah. But for Joe and Suzuki, man, like, damn, like that's some good stuff. And I think if you're like a casual viewer of Dynamite, right, and you have no clue who Samoa Joe is, and we'll get into that in a minute here. I think you could still be mesmerized by a match like that. Like, and maybe I'm like projecting, but how could you not sit back and just watch two guys just, if you're watching pro wrestling, I don't see how that doesn't appeal to you, even if you don't really fully understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can hit that cohort of people who maybe never. I mean, we're getting to the point now where you can't say like, me and you are on like the younger tier of people who watched in the golden era as kids.
True.
and early teenagers, right? So like you can't even be like, I mean, there's people in their 30s who never watched pro wrestling in the slightest, have not really had it affect their lives. There's Gen Z kids who probably couldn't name like one wrestler. Yeah, they can maybe do Hulk Hogan, whatever. But like if it's like a big joke to you and you turn on that, I think there's some appeal there that, okay, maybe this whole thing is not a giant joke, and maybe they won't watch it again, but at least culturally you get some credibility there. But yeah. I think it's hard to argue that that's not at least compelling what you're seeing on your television screen. Especially, I mean, if you haven't never seen Minoru Suzuki before either, like you're like, what in the hell is this? This
Who is this crazy person on my TV?
Yeah, you just got to like keep watching to see what's going to happen next. So, and Joe is like pretty close in that boat too. If you've never seen him, you're just like, who is that guy? This is crazy. Whenever I'm watching. So it's like, is this allowed on TV? Even though it's like nothing wrong with it, it just feels a little like that, a little edgy. For like, it's hard to put your finger on it, but good stuff.
I loved it. I loved it, and I think Joe, like he's one of the like that. The match, was kind of a example of attention to detail that I think Tony Khan should start to very much care about in terms of how you're framing people. Because look, I have a friend who got into wrestling with AEW. I don't even know exactly. To this day, I don't know how that happened or how he found it, but he doesn't watch Raw. He doesn't watch SmackDown. Just watches Dynamite, Rampage, and AEW pay-per-views. That's it. And so when there's a main event like Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki, I think to myself, like for the ROH World Television title, no less, like I think, and I may just ask him someday, there's probably like a written piece to do on this for the Torch, for PWTorch.com, but like, what is that person thinking? Because Joe, like, badass, he's in the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament, but that's really all that they have told you about Joe. Like nothing about his ROH history, nothing about the fact that he's had this tremendous run in Ring of Honor, at the early onset of the company. Minoru Suzuki, like he's a fresher face than Joe is because he's been around, but like there still hasn't been a lot of definition there either. Tony Khan has to start defining these people. Otherwise, there's all these titles on the show. There's all this talent on the show, and I think it's going to be hard for people to that don't know these guys to be drawn to them if there's not like a proper foundation laid. Like I think it's a real miss. Like here's the other thing. Like if you give Joe some juice in terms of a foundation, like here's why you need to care about this guy, and then like down the road, it's like, okay, you have this Ring of Honor streaming service or something, or like the Ring of Honor catalog is somewhere that you can go watch. Well, if you set the hook well enough for the 900,000 plus million plus viewers that you have with Samoa Joe and explain why he's important and get that investment, maybe you've got a batch of people that want to sign up to see Joe's old stuff that you now own. Like, so I think there's so many reasons to do a better job at that. And last night's main event, it was great. It was great match. But if I'm Tony Khan, man, I don't know. You got to give that a little more time. You got to tell that story. Why does it matter? Yeah,
I know. I think I agree, and it'd be. I mean, you could do debate club and try and argue the other side of that. I think you'd just be working the other side on purpose because there's really no reason to not do what you're saying there. And I think Khan has shown to be flexible on lots of stuff, but there's like the one thing that I'm unsure that will happen. Like the whole run of AEW, I'm basically under the assumption like, hey, if something sucks, it usually gets fixed within a couple of weeks and it doesn't really suck anymore. Like, if you have like a trope that is just overworked, like, beatdowns after a match, every match, or the same interference or the same, like, okay, you got 7 low blows on one show. You usually don't see 7 more the next couple weeks. Or if you see a lot of blood and it gets kind of critiqued, it kind of evens out for a while. You don't see any, then it comes back and ebbs and flows. But And it's like the one formatting thing, because Cody Khan loves his format. He loves his 6 matches. He loves, the nonstop pace. Obviously, it was with every show here. And it's like the one thing that I'm really concerned about. That's why I kind of talked about the hubris at the top of it.
Right.
And it's like, hey, this is what has worked. And, that's like the most successful people in the world. I don't think Vince McMahon today is a good example of that. I think Vince McMahon from 25 years ago is a good example of that, of like changing everything on a dime to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that moment has happened for Khan because he hasn't had to really do anything. It's all been pretty successful, and there has to be some turning point to do that. But that's more big picture than what you asked me. And I think if that does happen, I think like if you're Tony Khan, you got to write like on a piece of paper, who are my top like 3 guys in the company, right? I think right now it's CM Punk, MJF, and I don't know. It seems like Joe this week, but is it?
Well, like I think people go in and out of that role. Like some weeks it's Adam Page, other weeks it's Adam Cole. The women too. I mean, Britt Baker. There's weeks where she's like up there. Darby Allin. I mean, I think MJF, CM Punk, you've got that for sure.
Yeah, but that's like also kind of the problem. I think most people would agree with those 2, and then your third is like whatever. Like love or hate WWE, obviously they do something really well, and that's something that they do really well is Roman Reigns, or whoever, The Rock. I mean, Roman Reigns is like, we've all, as a collective unit of wrestling fans, hated what we saw for years and years, and was pushed down our throat, and finally became the character that we all thought he could be as an evil character. And like he for sure, and not to like get out, but he's obviously like, when he leaves and then comes back, he's probably a bigger star within WWE than, I don't know, it's hard to say than John Cena, but like, it's him and Cena are the 2 guys of this millennium at this point, right? And that is like, that took 10 years to build, right? And that's like a solid effort. And I think like what you're saying there, like it doesn't necessarily have to be Samoa Joe. It could be because he's a little older, but like if you're Tony Khan, like even if you brought somebody in and just presented them in a different way to like show me as a fan that like you understand, like literally 450,000 people really know who Samoa Joe is, and you're banking on that audience to go crazy for him and make everyone watching at home that doesn't know who he is, make him feel like he's important, and that's like your booking style. That just needs to change, even with one person. If you just flip the switch on Darby and he's your 3rd guy for a year, and you just like build him as a character and focus on him and do things that aren't just vignettes where he's calling people out, whatever, but could be with anybody. So that's my long answer to your statement. I agree with you, but it needs to be like a commitment.
If you extended it out to 6 people, like, do you think you can define 6? Like 6 who are in that category? Kenny Omega is somebody else you could probably put there in the 3rd slot when he's healthy. But like, who would your 6 be? Like, if you're like, okay, Tony Khan, right now in this room in Detroit, write on a piece of paper the top 6 stars in AEW. Like, what do you think he writes down? What do you think he writes down?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Punk, it's Bryan Danielson, it's MJF, it's Chris Jericho, I think, in his mind, at least from what he's done to him. This is Tony Khan answering. Britt, and then what was that? 4 or 5?
So you have Punk, MJF, Britt, Danielson. That's 4.
Yeah, and then probably Kenny. And at that point, I mean, and if it's this week, I think it's Joe in his mind. But I think he probably would put Hangman in that 6th spot. But that's on the fly. But I mean, it's Punk 1 for sure. The way everything's built around him, and then MJF. I mean, it's just Punk, MJF, and that's like fine. I think those 2 characters. So like to spin it back to you, if you want to add your list, please do. But like, do you think, the complaint you have and that I have, that most people have about characters not being defined, do you think CM Punk and MJF have been defined and that's why they work so well, or have they like transcended needing that because they're such good characters? Like, what is your take on that?
No, I think that is why. I mean, that's a big reason why. Like, a major reason why, actually. Like CM Punk out of the gate, unabashedly babyface, and I think not just like, okay, no, he's a babyface, but you know, he's been connected with the crowd. Like they're reacting to him, like they're on along for the ride. And he's just gotten better and more comfortable as he's gone on. There isn't like muddy meta stuff going on with him at all, really. I mean, at the beginning, I guess, like that first promo, of course, there's going to be some of that real life stuff in there. But outside of that, like he's pretty much played it pretty straight. MJF, same thing. Like he is that character. That's who he is.
Yep.
That's what he does. And he's looking for heat and he gets it. And everybody, a lot of other, like Danielson, like teeters on the edge of that because he was brought in as babyface, then he kind of went heel to go with Paige, and now like he's clearly a babyface again with Moxley and Wheeler Yuta and William Regal. But so even that, like in the short time that he's been with the company, a little bit muddy. John Moxley is someone that wasn't on your list. He's been pretty booked pretty straight, and I think is, you know, an over guy, and people know how to feel about him. But dude, like everyone else like has shades of gray to them. Like, I mean, they really do. Like Adam Page, yeah, he's kind of this like sympathetic babyface for sure and a champion, but like there is this kind of like doubtful Page that kind of like seeps through. Adam Cole, yeah, he's a heel for sure, but he gets babyface pops every week on every show. Like, so it's kind of like, all right, like that's a big star, but undefined in terms of like what he's supposed to be on Dynamite and within the AEW ecosystem. So there's that. Britt Baker is kind of the same way. Like she's kind of gets these big pops, but she's framed as a bad guy, but she gets cheered. So I think there's a lot of that going on outside of MJF, Punk, and really John Moxley. I think Young Bucks are kind of that way too. You know, they aren't as egregious as they used to be with this, but like they're heels, but they're flying all over the ring and they're doing all this, you know, all these fancy moves that get babyface pops. So, so yeah, I think you're onto something there, man. I really do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that's a critique of, you know, that's not been had only by you and I. So I'm curious what you think his 6 are before we move on from this.
Yeah, let's see here. And while I mull this over, I'll take the time to say, let us know what do you think? What do you think Tony Khan would say his top 6 stars are? Let us know in the comments. Be curious to hear what you guys think out there. I'm going to go, Punk, MJF, Britt Baker, Bryan Danielson, Adam Page. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to take Danielson out. I'm going to put Moxley in and then go Adam Page. I think that's your 6. And I don't know. I'm strangely confident about that.
Yeah.
Like I think like cuz
you don't think Kenny's in there when he's back? Like or you just think like in this moment because Kenny's not available, he's not on the list.
Well, yeah, right. Yes. I wasn't factoring
because my mind was like, hey, people that I'm paying every 2 weeks or whatever the pay structure is at AEW. That was my mindset. So
yeah, no,
the guy who's wasting all my money making this video game, that's not going to be very good. It's just my opinion.
Dude, you're hating on the video game already? Come on, man.
We'll see. I just put a little pin in that. You know, September rolls around. I love video games. I love Kenny Omega. I love wrestling. I got a good feeling about this. Just put it.
So why do you got? All right, we have to pivot here. Why such a negative? Like, I don't really know anything about it. I'm going to play it when it comes out, but I haven't been following the production of it. So what like seriously, like what kind of issue? I don't know about it.
Well, so I think the critique of AEW is that can be very like much a niche product, right? And I think Kenny Omega, like myself, is kind of a weirdo and likes weird things and doesn't mind like acting, you know. Yeah, so he loves games, I love games, but just what I've seen from it, it looks like more. Now, what was the WWE game in between? Like, was it 2K20 and 22? There was like that like weird arcade brawler version of WWE for a game. So it's not going to be like that. I mean, the graphics look like that, but to be a combination of what's the one game? It's like 16-bit. It's like the one you can add a bunch of things, and it's real technical. It's like Fire Wrestling Pro or something.
Oh, the New Japan game.
Yeah, someone in the comments can give me the exact name there. But so that is like kind of like an RPG and like tactical fighter game, which is super cool. I love that game, but like it's for like 85 people. So I think, and Kenny loves that game, and people are going to be expecting AEW 2K22, right? Yeah. And there's been like not a ton of news about this game, and it's going to come out. It's going to be like cool and technical and weird and unique. And I just don't think it's going to get. I think it's, they're going to get the report, this is $100 million, and it's like, and then it's going to be like, oh, you let Cody walk for, you're going to get that whole narrative, which is BS for everybody, like, so, but I think it's going to be more of a negative than a positive. And I don't think there'll be heat on Kenny per se, because he's not like a video game designer, but I'm just like putting a pin in it, just like you heard it here first, that just be on the lookout for some like scuttlebutt about this whole thing when it comes out, that some strife, etc. All the aggregation will be afoot. So,
dude, that is amazing. Like, because I mean, again, I don't follow it. Like, I would get it and play it for sure, but like,
and I could be wrong about the format of the game. So
no, but
this is not.
But like when you hear that, like, yes, this is Kenny's baby, and you also hear the amount of money that's being pumped into this thing, like, I think a lot of people are going to buy it just because, like, it's the first AEW game, and there has been, whatever, for better or worse, buzz. But yeah, man, it's still Kenny and it's still Tony. Like, so who knows what that thing could end up being? That's good stuff, man. Oh boy, what is there a release date for that? Did I hear something about that? I didn't report on it for the website, but
I think September was the rumored like time to try and hit it.
All out,
most games you want to have. I mean, like Call of Duty is like your last big game of the year, and that's usually November. So that's like the only industry that had movies that are still like on a time frame to like hit before the holiday season, so people buy it, which is like funny. Like 2022, and we're still doing that. But
that's hilarious.
So that's a big push. It's a wrestling game, so we'll see. It doesn't like have to hit. It's like we're gonna buy that for the kids for Christmas per se, but we'll see.
Dude, speaking of CM Punk, I thought his match was just fantastic. Like this week on Dynamite, like if that Suzuki Joe match isn't there, like I think that's match. I don't know. The tag match was good too, but I'll go singles match on it, and I think that's probably the match of the night. But I mean, you look at that match and how over Punk is, and just that pop that he got. Like, Tony Khan has a big decision coming up. I think, like, a really big one, as far as like where he wants to kind of take the top of the card. Because look, if you put, like, we got the big Rampage Texas Death Match tomorrow, or today if you're watching this on Friday. Like, if Adam Page wins that and you do Page versus Punk at Double or Nothing, like, I don't see how Adam Page walks out of that not damaged, A, from probably losing the belt, but B, just being completely overmatched and overshadowed and overwhelmed by the babyface reaction to Punk. Like, like there were like bits of booze, when it was Cole and Page. And I think Punk is just going to kind of just tidal wave right over him. But to get out of that problem, you have to have Page drop the title to Adam Cole. And which means you kind of pull the ripcord on his title reign. And so I think, like, this is, like, to me, like, this is Tony Khan's like first major booking conundrum where he has to make a call. Like, he has to make a business decision. And I'm really interested to see what he does, and where, and I think we'll get some insight into that on Rampage. But like, am I being like too like pie in the sky over dramatic about it, or I mean, is that kind of accurate? Like, what do you think?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I think the last 2 weeks has kind of pushed me in that direction of it being a possibility. Like, when this was like, hey, you're getting a rematch, I was like, why are they doing this again? Why are they running this back? Is it just to fill time? And more, it just feels like you cannot deny what CM Punk is. You cannot deny the plateauing the ratings. I mean, there's really no excuses week in and week out. I'm not a big ratings guy, but it's been about 970 to a million for 3 weeks in a row now. There's no, hey, we got bounced from our channel for the X, Y, and Z. It's been on TBS now for at the same time slot, at the same time everywhere in the country. So there's nothing there you can use. And yeah, I think, so it's funny because I think actually Adam Cole, his character being basically fully defined for the first time when he got in, Adam Page, his character being fully defined for the first time, getting in the face of Adam Cole and going nose to nose and challenging him to a Texas death match. Yeah. I mean, that was like that was like for me more so than him beating Kenny for the belt. That was like what I expect that character to be. And it's like that moment almost, if I'm not saying Tony Khan and I think alike on everything, but I think we have similar tendencies at what we like in wrestling. So if I'm in that spot and I see that, I can kind of in my mind be like, and tell Adam Page this, like, you peaked at that character, and now people are going to want that more from you as a champion. So when we do run it back in years or whatever it's going to be, you can be this guy, you can be this guy like John Moxley is without the title, and kind of spin that to him that you can be a bigger deal losing the title and getting revenge back and being like a new character after losing it. Instead of like crumbling, you can be stronger after losing it. Something like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense for his character. And also for me as Tony Khan is like, that's why I brought up Roman Reigns. Like, it's working way too well. That story, and he's booing that company with, which, and this is the way I look at like WWE, AEW for anyone. I'm more pro AEW than I am WWE, and I don't like really hide that from what I like watching personally as a fan. But like WWE is buoyed by this larger than life superstar that makes you want to watch everything he's doing in Roman Reigns, and everything that's around it is like okay to not good. And like AEW is built on really nobody at that spot, and then a lot of stuff that is really good to okay to sometimes bad. And that's like the way the companies are built, right? And if you're Khan, you got to like, to jump that next step, you have to know like, CM Punk is what, 42, 43? I don't know his age in front of me, but like you go strike while it's hot and it's happening, and him at the top of your company making the belt feel as important as it's ever felt, and being the face for obviously not getting the people transitioning over for all of these guys coming over to your company. And I think that might be a way to at least have people check it out and gain 100,000 viewers, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, I still don't know if I would like tomorrow night bet that would happen, that Cole goes out with the belt to be a transitional champion, but it would also subvert expectations. And it would be like, hey, anything can happen on Rampage. So it's like a big moment, and to sell that, and Rampage has gotten better ratings the last couple of weeks. It's on a special time. All that stuff is in play, and it's a live crowd. So I don't know. I'd probably put it like 45, 55 at this point. I would have been like 5.95 it going, so a lot has changed in my mentality and just watching patterns for that. So again, I could be dead wrong, but I don't know, what's like your percentage on that? Like more likely than you were, like, is that like way too high for you on Cole getting the belt?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll answer it two ways.
Yeah, kayfabe wise too, just as another argument. Like, Paige has no friends, right? And there's that whole story you can tell to protect him too, of Red Dragon, and unless Kenny and the Bucks are gonna, if Kenny's gonna come back and the Bucks are gonna help Cole or help Paige and save him, and that's like another like kayfabe way to explain this away too. So.
Well said. Boy, I mean, I think I have to answer two ways. Like one, like I think they should put the belt on Adam Cole. That's what I think. If they're going to put CM Punk in the main event of Double or Nothing for the title, I think Adam Page remains a bigger star and a better and a stronger act for the company if he's not involved in that, because it's just gonna, I think it's just gonna backfire. So Cole, in my opinion, should get the title. And and maybe Punk doesn't even beat him at Double or Nothing. Maybe you stretch it out and you do the title change at All Out or something. I don't know. But if Punk's in that main event at Double or Nothing, I think it's got to be against a heel. However, I kind of, when you look at like what Tony Khan has done and some things that he's booked, like kind of psychoanalyzing him, it's like I think he believes that there's nothing wrong with that. Like let's put Punk and Page in a match together and let's just have at it. Two big stars, Punk can elevate Page, and then you go. And I think that there's an argument for that, definitely. But I think Punk is so well defined right now and so over that I just don't think it's going to have the desired effect. I think it's going to be, a really big wrestling star kind of steamrolling the AEW World Champion, and I just don't think that's the right call. But I think if I had to put money on it, if you're like, hey man, put money on this immediately, I would say that Page retains, even though I very much think that's the wrong call.
Yeah, and like I agree with you too. Obviously, I think it hurts character. I think the only way that you can do the Page and Punk story is a Page immediately turns heel and like rejects, like, you rejected me, the fans rejected me, I'm going to reject you, and then he's like this, instead of a white hat cowboy, he's a black hat cowboy, and he's coming through and wearing the bandana and like running. He disappears for a month and then comes back, and it's just like, not doing Wardlow stuff per se, but he's literally just like taking out everybody, and that's a little on the nose, but something like that. But even then, like, I don't know, I don't necessarily like that. That feels forced for him in general to be heel. I just don't know if that works. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, there's really no good reason to do it.
There's no good reason, and so it'll be interesting. Like I think that's gonna be a hell of a damn match. I mean, right up your alley, right? I mean, like, you got to be.
Oh yeah.
Are you gonna be able to watch it?
Yeah, I'll probably watch on delay. So anyone that's watching this that is expecting a immediate post show, probably be a little delayed on that, the Rampage post show on the VIP podcast network.
Shame on you. Should we talk a little WWE?
Yeah, sure.
While we're at it, so
yeah, you want? Okay.
Cody. I mean, week 2 on Raw. Look, my sense was that he got a better reaction than I think some other people did out there this week. I mean, like, when you look at, like, is it an Austin reaction, or is it like, a Rock reaction? No, but it's probably the strongest babyface reaction that anybody in the company gets, Yeah. Right? I mean,
the number two reaction. Next to Bobby Lashley. I'm just making a joke about the
Oh yeah, right.
The babyface ranking.
I was like, number 2. Yeah, right. He's number 2 on the depth chart, man. Number 2.
Yeah. I think it's so dumb. I hate that. That's not that, like, I know we just ranked Tony Khan 6 guys, but like have like your top.
We put them all in the same position though.
Yeah, I know. It's just weird. Like, you don't have a champion, but you have like top babyfaces, I don't know. I just, for some reason, that rubs me the wrong way. It's like I feel like Billy Bean, doing Moneyball with wrestlers. It's just like it feels like not great. So.
Billy Bean is booking Monday Night Raw. Boy, who would have thought? 2022 pro wrestling.
Yeah, I wonder who'd be champ if Moneyball was the case. Probably
like
the NXT roster.
Probably like R-Truth or something like that for like all the the 24/7 views that he gets or something like that on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a fun time exercise. We'll write that down. Do that at a slow this week. Yeah, 1 week. So.
I love it. I am going to write that down right here. But yeah, I mean, so what do you think of? I mean, is the Cody thing working for you or not?
Yeah, I mean, this is what he wants to do. This is something different within WWE. I've been, for someone that is, my New Year's resolution. For anyone that is a long time listener to AEW.
Yeah, what was your New Year's resolution?
It was to talk less about Cody Rhodes, which I don't know if I fired him from AEW or I created that schism between the two, Tony Khan and Cody, by saying that. But so I talk less about him because I don't talk about him on Rampage every week. But but I think
so by the, like, I don't know if that counts, man. Like, if he gets booted off the show, like, I don't know. I think you still got to work at it.
I mean, before YouTube, right before we launched this, I was doing the Dynamite Report and I was doing the Rampage post show. So, in theory, before this show, which is great. I love doing it in the Daily Newswire. Love that too. Check that out. Like, subscribe.
Well, look at that. Flawless.
Flawless. I could technically go through the whole week without talking in public about Cody, which would have totally hit my resolution.
So why the resolution to not talk about Cody? What do you have against that, man?
No, I mean, to me, it was the same conversation every week. And this is not anything against anyone in the community or you or Wade or anybody. It gets clicks. People love talking about Cody. That's why he is such a star. It's kind of the same thought process over and over again. Is he going to turn heel? Oh, he's actually a super genius and he's turning heel in his own way, which is obviously false. So again, right on that. Check one for Tyler. But it was just the same kind of conversations over and over and over again, right? And over time, when you just like, for me, it was going to always be the same, and it was like a waste of time and redundant to keep talking about the same thing with him over and over again. And here within WWE, my initial take was that this is good for him. This is good for wrestling. This is good makes WWE more interesting for me and for other people. So I was always very bullish on this as a result for everybody. And I think he's doing what he wants to do to bring it back to Raw. He's doing what he wants to do, and it works. He's different. He's saying wrestler. He's doing essentially his persona within AEW, which I'm sure WWE likes for the crossover effect and to look. So it's a win-win for everybody. Again, my only concern, and I said this on other platforms, I'll say here on YouTube, is that, where are we at 6 months from now? Has he merged into traffic? Is he on his third pay-per-view match against Madcap Moss? If we're in that zone, then that is just like an indictment on the WWE system more than anything. Not Cody, not Madcap. No offense, Madcap. You're just kind of that guy that I can think of to be in that feud. Or Sheamus or Butch. Love Butch, obviously, with my nameplate here. But so if we're there, then I don't even think that's a failure. But I think that's more of an indictment on what WWE is and what your expectations as a fan that follows this very intensely for into minute 42 of two guys talking about wrestling, right? So that is just like what you can expect to see from WWE if that's the case. So, but overall right now, I like it. It makes Raw more interesting. It feels fresher. And Raw's felt pretty good ever since like in February, better than it has. So yeah, overall, I've liked it. How about you? I've talked a lot.
No, I don't have much to add, honestly. I think it's worked well. I mean, it's on the higher end of what my expectations were. But you hit the nail on the head. The question is, how long can they keep it going? And because look, they can't. This saying wrestler thing, that's not a gimmick. You can't. That's not going to be anything in 1 month's time. It's just going to stop mattering. So I think I think he's in the right place right now. I think, Seth Rollins is a good opponent for him to be working. If they're serious with him, I think you gotta get him into that title picture. Whether it's undisputed or whether, the WWE title comes back to Raw and you do some kind of tournament or something. Cody put it on the line last week. We talked about this on the show. That was a mission statement of all mission statements. And so now I think you got to tell that story, from right now until him winning that belt. I think that's what you do. And The Rock could mess that up if he wants to come in. So be it. But I think that's the story that you tell. And I think that they're on the right. I think they're on the right path with it. It's just a matter of can they keep it going. So the thing with Dusty, that was in MSG, right? When he's holding the belt, and that was the picture on his nightstand before he died. I mean, if they don't have a real show, and I think they gotta have some real shows soon in MSG, not just house shows that they hype for people to buy tickets. If they don't basically do that exact same story, I'd be really disappointed to have him go against Roman and maybe it comes back, but he's got the belt and he did it and he doesn't actually do it. Then you save that for another year down the line and have him do it at WrestleMania, after you got the Rock and Roman thing. That would be the ideal booking for me. And I'm not the world's, obviously I just said my piece about Cody. He gets nothing against Cody. Met him in person, paid money at ROH to meet him, but he's the nicest guy. And he's been, two of the greatest matches I've ever seen live
was actually his first and last AEW match, which is crazy. I saw both.
Dude, that's wild. Seriously?
Yeah. So Double or Nothing, him and Dustin, amazing match. And then I was in Cleveland for his last match against Sammy, that ladder match.
Wow.
So, those are easily, without question, the two best matches I've ever seen live. So again, that is like not Cody slander from this channel for me. It's just more the conversation around him. I was over, but I would book it exactly what I said. Have him do that, and then like have Roman and Rock do their thing, and then the next WrestleMania 40. The first one, the 10th one, was the 20th one in MSG too.
Yeah, the 20th.
Yeah, I mean not MSG, 30. Yep. 30 was in New Orleans, but if you do like 1, 10, 20, 40, you do 40 in MSG and Cody wins the belt, like you could sell those tickets for $10,000. You'll sell that place out. You'll make your gate. Or you do a special, that's the one match in there, whatever. You do all the other matches at the stadium, and you have like the main event, and you sell tickets only for the main event in MSG. How cool would that be? They're a free idea for you, Bruce Pritchard and Roman.
There you go,
Vince McMahon. So
Bruce Pritchard,
for the
Tyler,
hot business takes.
He wants your commission checks in the mail, man. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I mean, they just have to. I think, like anything else in WWE, like to me, it's like you got to go with it, but you can't force it so fast out of the gate. Like you don't want people to turn on the Cody push. Just WWE, I think, needs to let that thing breathe, let it go, let it just do its thing, let it play out, and then whatever it is will be. But I think if they strangle it and like try to just force it in a certain direction, it'll die. Like, so I think you just want to just treat it as it is. Look, pump out the t-shirts, no question. Like, dude, he drove a number this week as far as rating goes. The total number was down for Raw, but when you look, hour 1 to hour 2, like there was an increase there of over 100,000 viewers, and Cody's match was the hook there. Like, and they told you, hey, this match is going to happen at the top of the second hour. That's up from WrestleMania week, So like there's something there. And, a lot of that was the intrigue of his first match. I get that. But I think you just want to play it a little safe with, with how you present it. Like it can't feel like the audience is getting this story jammed down their throat. It has to be something that they're authentically breathing to life. I don't know. Does that make any sense, or am I just like losing it here on a Thursday night?
No, you're good. I mean, you don't want to. It's but you gotta let, like, what I said is pretty long-term storyline, right? And that is like, it's finding stuff for him to do in the in between. But if you give him like somewhere in the middle there, a sniff at the title where he gets screwed, and then he gets a chance again down the line. I mean, it's very much, to me, the quintessential story of that is this is again niche, but Kenny Omega in New Japan, right? He had a couple shots at the belt, and then it took years for him to get that belt, and it was just like an extreme moment for people that followed it. So I certainly think Cody Rhodes can fill that role for. He's kind of the outsider, right? If they want to portray him that way, and the guy who is the the ace of the generation, which is Roman Reigns. He's a Okada 1 for 1 there, and I mean not that they're going to tell that story. So let's not get crazy. I'm not losing it. I think they're going to tell that story, but there's like a story to tell where there's interesting things for him to do, interesting stories for him to have. And it just, again, like we said with Tony Khan, right? If we did the same thing with Vince McMahon, what is that list? Is it Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Steve Austin?
I mean, yes, but
Undertaker, hopefully, so they each have their flaws as bookers, right? But Cody should be on that top 6. And if you do that, if you have Lashley and Seth, and Roman obviously at the top, and Cody and Kevin Owens and a 6th person, like if you do that and protect those guys and give them interesting things to do, they can lose from time to time, but like if you protect them, make them all feel important when they meet at big shows, it's simple, right? I'm not saying anything no one out there doesn't think, right? But like you protect those guys, you can build big shows, and you don't have to have 60-year-old guys doing it, which is, obviously the critique for WWE. So,
that's Pro Wrestling 101. Yeah. I mean,
So,
yeah. All right, man. Well, what about, let's wrap up on Brock Lesnar, pulled from WrestleMania Backlash. You covered this yesterday in the Newswire, which you can check out on the old YouTube channel here. I mean, I guess my reaction was like, okay, like I didn't like. I guess I it's always better to have Brock than to not have him. Like, I mean, he's one of the biggest stars that they have, and in the industry, period. But I think he needs some time away. Like, and it's not because he's stale necessarily, but like, what's he gonna do? You're not gonna come back. I don't think you're gonna run back the Roman Reigns match, or at least it doesn't seem like that's in the cards at this point. So if you're not gonna do that match, like, who's he gonna wrestle? Like, so if you don't have anybody good to wrestle, leave him off the card. So I'm fine with this, and I think actually the card is shaping up nicely where Brock's not really needed. So it didn't really affect me all that much in terms of like, oh, WWE is screwed. Like, I just didn't have that reaction this time.
Yeah, assuming hoping it's not injury. I don't think that has been reported anywhere that he's hurt or anything.
No,
but yeah, I mean, like, as his character is construed at the moment, like, the only thing he can do is go after Roman again, and I don't want to see that match again. I don't think you want to see that. Not that it was bad, but like, what's going to happen. Like, there's no reason
finish
to
the
just,
story,
like,
right? It's over.
Yeah. So like, to do that is like the problem with WrestleMania Backlash as a brand anyway. But that, of all the matches, Ronda and Charlotte, that I could see some more of that, because I feel like that story's not complete. There's a couple matches on that card that I guess AJ and Edge if you wanted to, but there's some things there to continue that weren't necessarily resolved from that show, and that one certainly was resolved. So and yeah, you save him till he's still booked for it's also a Brock date, which is important not to waste for something that you're not confident is good. So you got him for Money in the Bank. He's a hook for that as a stadium show, SummerSlam, the Rumble, next year's WrestleMania. If he takes on Steve Austin, that's, you do 2 nights and those are your 2 main events. Keep him what he's doing. It's working. I think also a sneaky, if you're looking like the course of the last decade of WWE, him coming back after WrestleMania, after twice in a lifetime he came back the next night.
No, he came back 28, first once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Okay. The first in a lifetime he came back. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for getting that. I like that you. I like that. But
look at that insider lingo.
There you go. So So from that to kind of what we saw, and just like his, like, if you would have thought Brock Lesnar is here for a decade plus, would he still be this important and this good? Like, I would be like, no way. And he's really like got himself like a legend status, like a top 15 guy in WWE history. Is kind of what he's worked himself into. So, which is crazy. I would never would have guessed that. So good for him.
That is crazy. And I mean, dude, that guy, he knows the business of what he's doing, and I think that matters. It's not an accident that he's able to be here, whatever that is, 10 years later, and still have that special feeling about him in the WWE world, because it just doesn't, there's so much content that they have to produce that, if you're Seth Rollins, like, it's like you just don't have the luxury that Brock does, period. And because you have to be out there, like, that's your role in the company. And Brock, that's it's not his. He's got a different role, and he plays it. I think he plays it really well, and he's getting paid a nice chunk of change for it.
Yeah, and he earns the money too. Like, those deals are not built around him tremendously, but if he's not there, I don't know if there's as many. There might be one less zero on that. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe it's 900 million instead of 1.1 billion or something like that. Who knows?
Well, but Vince wants that he wants the 1.3 billion. Like, he just does.
He'll do what it takes to get there. So.
All right, man.
Can I ask the fun question before we go?
Ask the fun question. Ask it.
So
great idea.
I've been traveling like crazy. So I was thinking, like, just traveling on vacation or work, whatever. are there any towns, and shout out the towns you like that are kind of surprisingly good? Like, for example, Detroit. I'm in Detroit today. Really cool part of Detroit. I've never been here, and it's a really cool town, and it's a great wrestling town. But anyone on Detroit watching, hit like, subscribe, comment. Like, I'm in Birmingham, which is a suburb. It's very nice little neighborhood. But any towns you've been to that you're just like, man, I just don't like it. Just to get some hot takes on here on the way out. So
yeah,
I have two.
Go ahead, you go first.
Okay.
You go first.
One is I've been to lots of places in Florida. Been to Tampa recently. Love Tampa. Never been. Okay. Great town. I see why every wrestler lives there. People I saw had videos of John Cena eating ice cream at a local ice cream shop in a full suit. Very funny. I told them I like wrestling. They're like, oh yeah, here's John Cena. Like last week I saw him. So very cool. But in Florida, one city I not like, Fort Myers. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. Just not for me. Kind of like a time capsule of the 80s. So if you're from Fort Myers, again, not to go heel mode on you.
Sorry, Fort
Myers. If I still get styrofoam cups at like the Jamba Juice, like not good. If I'm getting like literally white unbranded styrofoam cups at the Publix, not a good time. That's a local grocery store down there, by the way. So, and my second one is a little close to you. There's lots of suburbs of Chicago. But when I went to All In, I spent a lot of time in Schaumburg. Is that how you say it officially? As a local?
Schaumburg.
I mean, I know it's barely a town. It's just a suburb of Chicago. But man, not for me.
So what didn't you like about Schaumburg?
It's just, I bet if I was, this is going to be mean, maybe we'll edit this out. But, it's like if I loved going to Applebee's and Chili's and looking at office parks.
Dude, there's TGI Fridays over there too.
Yeah, living in like a suburban hellscape. It's not for me. That's kind of what Schaumburg.
No, but like, dude, you hit the nail on the head, man. That's. I mean, that really is. That really is shocking. Yeah. I mean, like, especially where you were for All Out, like.
Yeah. And more so reason is I convinced my wife to go with me. She usually doesn't go with me on wrestling trips. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to Chicago. It would be great. Nowhere near Chicago.
That's not Chicago. No.
So that was more on me for like selling a bill of goods that was not there because she was like, what is this? So
that's on you. That's on you, man.
Yeah, it's like going to, hey, we're going to New York City, and then you're in like Trenton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like it's so funny. Yeah. Schaumburg's a little rough especially if you're expecting Chicago. Like,
yeah, I mean, a beautiful city, very clean, very very nice people. Not scary or anything,
but not Chicago. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm in more of a urban area of Chicago, of the suburbs. Like, so, but I'm like I'm very close to the city, but it is still, still a suburb. So a little bit of mixture of both. But yeah, Schaumburg is all the way the other way. I'll say, and yeah, God, I don't want to like be Mr. Kevin Owens here. So if Steve Austin, if you're listening to this, I apologize. But Dallas, Texas,
I'm with you.
Was a damn mess, man. Like, I mean, we were there, and same kind of thing as you. I brought my. She wasn't my wife at the time, but she is now. Thankfully, shockingly, actually, after that trip to Dallas, but we were there for WrestleMania 32. One thing sticks out in particular. Like, first of all, getting into WrestleMania that year it took us about almost 4 hours to get into the building. Like, the systems shut down, like the wireless ticketing like broke. It was a disaster. And this is not just me, anybody that was at that show will corroborate that bit of information. Absolute nightmare. So, but the night before, it was the Final Four game. So we were like, all right, we'll go to the hotel, and then we'll just find a bar somewhere with some food to watch the games. So we're going out, and we find this place, walking distance, great little spot, and we roll up there though, and like it looks like there's like a 2-hour wait. Like, it's just packed if you look at it from the outside in. Like, you're looking at, like, if you're walking up to a restaurant and like people are outside and like clearly there's a wait, right? So I go in there, and we didn't really care. So we're just gonna wait it out, grab a couple beers, whatever. And I go in to put our name on the list, and they're like, yeah, okay, it's gonna be like 2.5 hours. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, we're not in a rush. But I'm standing there at the host stand, and I'm looking at the restaurant, and there are open seats everywhere. I mean, like everywhere. Like, it was wide open. So I was just like, like, and it was Saturday night. It's not like it's like a Monday night. It's Saturday night. And so I asked him, like, so what's wrong with, can we sit there? And she's like, no, we don't have enough servers. So we're not opening up that area. And it's like half the restaurant wide open. So whatever. I kind of like, all right, whatever. Just whatever. It is what it is. And the next day we go to WrestleMania, and there's like there's like a kind of like a Schaumburg-esque area, for lack of a better word, around AT&T Stadium or nearby.
Yeah, I mean, you're in Arlington, which is basically the equivalent, I would say.
Yes, we're in Arlington. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so we go, and so like we're like, well, Buffalo Wild Wings is jammed. So we found this like Mexican restaurant where we're like, great, we can have a couple beers, some food, and then go walk into the show. I walk up to this place, dude. There's no one in it. Nobody's in this restaurant. No one. No one is in it. And I walk up, and I'm like pumped because I like found this little hole in the wall place. Everything else is jammed, and so like I'm excited. I'm too excited, way too excited at the time. And they go, oh yeah, it's gonna be about 2 hours to sit down. And I'm like, what are you talking about? No one's here. Like, nobody is here right now. So whatever. Like, it was a different pace down there. That drove me crazy. And so that, we weren't. My wife wasn't itching to go back for this year's WrestleMania. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I say
Dallas before too, and it's weird. I don't know if you stayed anything downtown at all. I stayed more downtown when I was there, but it's like an interesting, like, small town with like just like forever escape of suburbs. So I'm probably not in the same level as you, but it's more on like I've been there, it's off the list sort of deal for me.
Sure.
If there's an event, but it's got the X where John Kennedy got shot in the middle of the street, which is super weird to me still to this day when you walk past it. Yeah,
we went there. Very surreal to be there.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Get in the comments.
Let us know, man.
It was my thing, and I thought it was pretty hardcore on Schaumburg, but Zach came in hot and just totally roasted Dallas. So for all you for Cam and all you San Antonio stands, I think you'll be very happy with the roasting of Dallas, right? Because Cam's from San Antonio, right? So
I think so. Or Austin.
The king of San Antonio. Austin, yeah. Well, Austin, great town. That's a very
either way.
Houston,
it's not Dallas. Yeah.
Houston sneaky is one of the best towns in America. So I'll get that. We'll be faces in that. But Corpus Christi, you're the worst wrestling town in America. So we'll leave on that. Zach.
Wow. That's it. We got to put the fire out.
Well, that Pittsburgh for the what chance? That too. So.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, man. Let's wrap up, dude. Thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate it. Do us a favor. Do us a solid. Like, subscribe. There's gonna be lots more really good content on the way. It's been awesome just getting the channel up and going and hearing from you guys in the comments section. So let us know what you think. Love feedback. And Tyler, dude, we'll catch you next time.
Cool. I'll see you then.